debris during a search on Monday, and Cebu City Mayor Nestor Akaival added that officials remain in rescue mode. The incident has sparked calls for investigation into the cause of the collapse, as well as a review of the country's waste management system. Environment authorities have since ordered Prime Integrated Waste Solutions, the landfill's operator, to suspend its activities at the site. The local Department of Environment and Natural Resources said in a statement on Monday that the company would have to submit a compliance plan within 90 days. The department also said it will conduct an investigation into the cause of the collapse and hold to account the responsible parties. Lawmakers have called for reviews of the country's waste management system and working conditions of waste workers. The Binaliu landfill is located on a piece of land measuring 20 hectares, 3 hectares of which are used for the landfill. While authorities are still looking into the cause of the landslide, a preliminary report from the local Mines and Geosciences Bureau points to continuous rainfall in recent weeks.
President Donald Trump's onslaught of higher tariffs. China's exports rose 5.5% for the whole of last year to $3.77 trillion, customs data showed, as Chinese automakers and other manufacturers expanded into markets across the globe. Imports flatlined at $2.58 trillion. The 2024 trade surplus was over $992 million. In December, China's exports climbed 6.6% from the year before in dollar terms, better than economists' estimates and higher than November's 5.9% year-on-year increase. Imports in December were up 5.7% year-on-year compared to November's 1.9%. China's trade surplus surpassed the $1 trillion mark for the first time in November, when the trade surplus reached $1.08 trillion in the first 11 months of last year. Economists expect exports will continue to support China's economy this year, despite trade friction and geopolitical tensions. While China's exports to the U.S. fell sharply after Donald Trump returned to office and escalated his trade war with the world's second-largest economy, that decline has been largely offset by shipments to other markets in South America, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Europe. For the whole of 2025, China's exports to the U.S. fell 20%. In contrast, exports to Africa surged 26%. Those to the Southeast Asian countries jumped 13%, to the European Union 8%, and to Latin America 7%. Analysts said strong global demand for computer chips and other devices and the materials needed to make them were among categories that supported China's exports. Exports of electronics and electrical equipment were by far the largest export category, rising 8.4% from a year earlier.
Luxury retailer Saks Global has filed for bankruptcy, preparing to reposition itself in the increasingly competitive upscale market after obtaining about $1.75 billion in financing commitments. The New York-based private company that owns retailers Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus said in a release on Wednesday that it had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the Southern District of Texas. The company's top executive Mark Metrick stepped down earlier this month as the firm struggled with debt it took on for its $2.65 billion acquisition of Neiman Marcus in 2024. He was succeeded as CEO by Executive Chairman Richard Baker, who quit both roles earlier this week and was replaced as Chief Executive by Jeffrey Van Riemdonk. The company is also facing increasing competition as it tries to winnow down its heavy debt load while its customers have balked against extravagant price hikes. The company said it was evaluating its operational footprint to invest resources where it has the greatest long-term potential. SACS said it did not expect its operations to be disrupted and it would continue to honor its customer programs and pay its suppliers and employees. It said it was financing commitments of $1.5 billion from some of its creditors and another $250 million in incremental liquidity from its lenders. Global sales of luxury goods are expected to contract for the second straight year in 2026 as consumers anxious about the global economy pare back their spending, according to a study by Bain & Co. Consultancy released in November. Hudson Bay, Canada's oldest company, moved to liquidating all but 6 of its stores in March 2025. While Chloe Zhao's Shakespeare drama Hamnet pulled off an upset over Sinners to win Best Film Drama. In his speech after winning Best Director, Mr. Anderson praised Warner co-chief Michael De Luca. The final awards brought to or near the stage a handful
The Japanese and South Korean leaders agreed to deepen cooperation between their countries before they let loose with their own surprise culture exchange in a surprise jam session drumming to key pop hits. The serial drum duet between the two East Asian world leaders set the internet abuzz and put a spotlight on Japan and South Korea's diplomatic relationship. Decked out in matching blue jackets, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and Japan's Prime Minister Sanya Takaichi on Tuesday played drums to the beats of K-pop hits, including Dynamite by BTS and Golden from hit film K-pop Demon Hunters. The performance, a nod to PM Takaichi's past life as a drummer in a heavy metal band, wrapped up President Lee's official visit to Japan this week. It's also part of Lee's diplomatic overtures to regional powers, including Japan, with whom South Korea has a fraught history but shares a security alliance. The drumming session from Tuesday, which Lee described as a little clumsy, has now spawned a viral video. During President Lee's visit to Nara, PM Takaichi's hometown, he gifted the Japanese Prime Minister a drum set. The two leaders also exchanged signed drumsticks after their performance. Footage of the jam session has won praise on social media. There have long been sore spots between the two neighbors, including historical grievances from Japan's colonial rule and territorial disputes. But both countries are allies of the US and have worked together to counter China's increasing assertiveness in the region. On Tuesday, PM Takaichi said in a statement that cooperation between Japan, South Korea and the US has become increasingly important amid heightened tensions in the region's strategic environment. The leaders also agreed to boost economic cooperation, a pledge that comes as China has been tightening its exports of rare earths and dual-use goods to Japan. President Lee's smoothness as a diplomatic has boosted his approval ratings back home. Days before his viral jam session with PM Takaichi, he met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, with whom he took selfies on a Chinese smartphone. Last October, he flattered US President Donald Trump with a large golden crown. The only leader he hasn't been able to charm is North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Pyongyang has rejected Lee's overtures for peace and shown little interest in reconciliation. This week, Pyongyang demanded an apology from Seoul after accusing it of flying surveillance drones in his territory.
Indian. Indian. Indian.
Ravers danced and swayed to the loud bass at a popular nightclub in the heart of the city of Beirut. It was another sold-out Saturday in the party capital of the Middle East. What was different this time was the DJ at the helm. Before putting on his headphones, he had been leading a mass at a Lebanese Catholic university. Guilhem Peixoto, better known as Padre Guilhem, is a priest from a village in northern Portugal who preaches by day and parties at night. To the 52-year-old DJ, it is a way to express his faith, send a message of peace and coexistence, and connect with the youth. He says the psalm asks to praise the Lord with all instruments, so now they have this new instrument that is electronic music. Padre Guilhem has been a global sensation for months, performing around the world to large audiences and amassing a following of 2.6 million on Instagram. The priest broke onto the global stage after his performances at World Youth Day in 2023 before Pope Francis open-air mass and another featuring Pope Leo in 2025. What started as a way to fundraise for local churches has become a vital new way to evangelize. Lebanon was in many ways a natural stop on his tour. Christians make up around a third of Lebanon's 5 million people. Given the small nation on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean, the largest percentage of Christians in the Middle East, Maronite Catholics are the largest Christian group. 18 people, including Christian religious officials, sent a petition to the country's judiciary calling for his show to be cancelled, calling it an insult to the faith. The petition was rejected by the judge, and the club where he performed said the venue will have security presence and no religious symbols will be displayed to avoid offending anyone.
Indian. Indian.